Imagine being completely severed from the real world. I mean, literally no sunlight, no concept of time, zero connection to your past life. It's just you, your thoughts, and a ticking clock. In today's attention economy, the ultimate currency isn't actually money anymore, it's human endurance. So in this explainer, we're going to dive right into the absolute psychological extremes of modern creator challenges. We're breaking down exactly what happens when the human mind is pushed to its absolute breaking point. I want you to try and imagine the absolute paranoia of this situation. Picture this, day 27. Your eyes are burning, you haven't slept a single second in the last 48 hours. You're completely trapped. Staring at a blinding white wall, your throat is scratchy and dry, you're literally jumping at the smallest sounds, and you catch yourself arguing with yourself over a spoon. Crazy, right? It's not just physical exhaustion we're talking about, it's a complete and total disconnection from reality. When nobody is watching you except for these cold, unblinking camera lenses, how long is it going to be until you just lose your grip entirely? Okay, let's dive into this. We're looking at two completely different but honestly equally terrifying 100-day isolation experiments today. On one side, we've got pure physical isolation. Mr. Beast trapped two total strangers, Susie and Bailey, inside a blinding white cube with $500,000 on the line. But on the other side, virtual isolation. Creator Ryan Trahan essentially locked himself away, strapped a VR headset to his face, and spent 100 days inside the metaverse living under a fake 6'4" avatar named Brian. So one is a literal claustrophobic prison of white walls, and the other is this boundless virtual world. And yet somehow, both of them lead to an incredibly dark place. Let's walk through the timeline here, because it really shows exactly how fast the human mind cracks under extreme conditions. By just day 4 in the physical cube, the desperation for any kind of entertainment was already so high that Susie and Bailey were ripping up journal paper just to make playing cards. That's just pure boredom. But man, it gets so much worse. By day 20, they were actively rejecting basic comforts. Meanwhile, looking at day 48 in the virtual world, Ryan Trahan is eating real-world fast food completely alone in this depressing virtual void, totally neglecting his actual physical body. And by day 99, it's full-blown clinical sleepless paranoia, pacing the room, raving out loud at 3 a.m., literally hiding from the lights. Because the mental decay here, it goes way deeper than just being tired. It actually attacks who you fundamentally are. During his 100 days in the metaverse, Ryan Trahan experienced this total, terrifying loss of identity. He went in with this grand plan to become the king of the metaverse, right? Throwing these massive digital parties, pretending to be someone he completely wasn't. But he escaped his actual reality only to find this profound, crushing loneliness. It all peaked when he was playing a virtual game of Among Us and suddenly realized he didn't even know who he was anymore. I am the imposter. My name isn't even Brian. But looking at all this madness, you really have to stop and ask a massive question. How on earth are these psychological experiments even funded in the first place? I mean, to trap people in a custom-built cube for 100 days, or to dedicate months of your life strictly to a VR headset, that requires an enormous financial engine. And that engine, my friends, is the modern creator economy. And this brilliantly illustrates what business educator Mark Tilbury talks about when he breaks down the framework for building the kind of wealth that funds modern media. It's highly specific. Step 1, consume knowledge. You've got to learn high-income skills, things like video editing or coding. Step 2, apply those skills. You go out there, you fail, you learn, and you take on clients. Step 3, scale it up by educating others and creating predictable, recurring revenue. That right there is the blueprint. It's the roadmap that builds massive digital empires, directly connecting everyday online skills to the super high-stakes, multi-million-dollar media companies that are running these massive social experiments. And because that economic engine is just so massive, the battle for your attention is absolutely fierce. Just look at how incredibly fast the stakes have to escalate just to keep viewers hooked. It literally starts with a simple $1 Minecraft island build. Okay, cool. But then, boom, it jumps to a stunning $10,000 futuristic city. And then it completely peaks with this massive, mind-blowing $25,000 spaceship build, complete with a giant robot and plasma cannons. The attention economy simply demands these massive, constantly escalating financial investments just to keep us glued to the screen. But here's the thing. Eventually, escalating those stakes stops being about building cooler digital blocks. It transitions right back to the psychological toll. All of this massive creator wealth, it gets directly weaponized to test the absolute limits of human endurance. When creators have millions and millions of dollars at their disposal, they can build these psychological pressure cookers that are just, honestly, almost impossible for the average human being to withstand. So the crucial point is really the sheer scale of the temptation they use to try and break these contestants. Just imagine it. You've been trapped in a room with blinding, stinging lights, sleeping on these awful, uncomfortable cots, and you are practically losing your mind. Suddenly, the door opens. Susie and Bailey are offered state-of-the-art smart beds and an iPad with a single button that will finally turn off those horrible overhead lights. The cost? A staggering $50,000 of their prize money. And under all that intense pressure, they completely panicked and shockingly said no, literally condemning themselves to 80 more days of blinding lights and terrible sleep. And wow, the psychological manipulation doesn't stop there at all. The regret can literally be physically sickening. Later on in the challenge, they were offered this massive mystery box for another 50 grand. Playing it super safe, they rejected it. But then it was opened. just to reveal that they would have gotten their $50,000 back, plus 2 brand new Teslas. Susie, who drove a Prius in the real world, was absolutely devastated. She admitted she was going to regret it forever. She literally whined about missing out on her dream car for 9 days straight, which, as you can imagine, created some massive friction inside that tiny white cube. But despite the insane amounts of money, the blinding lights, and the slow descent into madness, both of these 100-day experiments revealed one undeniable truth: the absolute, fundamental necessity of authentic human interaction. When you strip literally everything else away, human connection is genuinely the only thing that keeps us sane. Now, what's really interesting about this contrast is how perfectly it highlights digital versus physical isolation. In the metaverse, Ryan felt completely lost and utterly devastated when his only normal virtual friend, Clay, suddenly disconnected. He was literally mourning a digital avatar. But meanwhile, over in the physical cube, Susie and Bailey, who remember, were practically penny pinching to save their $500,000 prize, they gladly sacrificed $20,000 in a heartbeat. Why? Just to see their family through a glass window for a brief 10-minute visit. Real-world contact instantly became priceless to them. Surviving the rest of their time in there, though, that required some completely bizarre coping mechanisms. To try and keep their sanity, Susie and Bailey actually created a fake sign-in sheet just to trick the camera crew into writing down the current date. Genius, right? But as the days dragged on, they really started turning on each other. Susie actually hid the Monopoly dice just so she wouldn't have to interact with Bailey, which is honestly both hilarious and a super dark testament to how absurd the human mind becomes in isolation. She would take these hour-long hot showers, literally forcing him to endure freezing cold water for months. And finally, entirely desperate for some relief, they made a massive $100,101 final bid just to get some basic comfort items for the final stretch of the journey. And all of that madness brings us to day 100. The tension in that room is just immense. I mean, they survived the isolation, they survived the blinding lights. Somehow, they even survived each other. They are standing right at the finish line, completely ready to claim their massive prize. But the true test of their sanity is really just beginning. Let's move to and see how this builds into the ultimate psychological trap: split or steal. Here are the mechanics of how this works. If they both choose split, they share the remaining prize money right down the middle. If one chooses steal and the other splits, the one who steals gets to take absolutely everything. But, and this is the absolute kicker, if they both hit steal out of pure greed or paranoia, they both walk away with zero, nothing. 100 days of pure psychological torture for absolutely $0. $360,000. That is the massive remaining prize pool sitting on the line. The suspense here is literally unbearable. Susie is sitting there wearing earplugs and big noise-canceling headphones, completely and totally isolated. She can't hear a single word Bailey is saying. They've just spent 100 days together, practically becoming this old married couple built out of pure annoyance and survival. And now, with the press of a single button, one of them could completely destroy the other. So it all comes down to this one final question. 100 days trapped inside a box, a starting prize of $500,000. Your sanity pushed to the absolute edge of breaking. What would you do? Would you split the money with a stranger who suffered right alongside you? Or would the paranoia win out, pushing you to hit that steal button and take it all? It's such a fascinating look at the ultimate cost of our attention, and a brutal reminder of the wild, extreme lengths creators will go to just to keep us watching. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and seriously, ask yourself, what would you do?